Hello guys, welcome to the video. So in the last one we learned how to make a simple if statement and how to get reference of the object. In this one I want to show you how to make tower shoot bullets towards the enemy. There are a couple of things that we're gonna learn. They are pretty much new, especially if you're a beginner, and if you have some experience it will be a bit easier to understand them. Also I want to say that these things that we do in these crash course videos, we're gonna do them again in the future, so if you don't understand some parts of it, it's fine. It's important for you to just, get used to environment, and later on, once you do it again, you'll be like, oh, I think I've seen it somewhere, and now I understand how it works, okay? So as of now, let's do something simple. Let's go to the tower script, and in the update, we're gonna do this. If input get key down key code space, then debug log attack, we're gonna put space here, then plus enemy dot name. So now every time we press the space key, we're gonna see a message in the console, attack enemy name. Let's go and try this. Gonna go to play mode. There is a console, and to make input work, we actually need to switch to the game view over here, and it's not really like we cannot see much in this window, so maybe let's fix that. We're gonna go to the scene, we're gonna set camera as we like, maybe like that, yeah. Then we're gonna select main camera, and over here in this small window we can see what this main camera sees, and we need to select main camera, hold Shift, Control and press F. And now we changed position of the object, and it's equal to the scene view we had. Now if you go to the game, it's gonna look the same way as it does in the scene window. All right, this will help us a little bit. Let's do scale as 1, and let's change free aspect to 16 by 9, like that. Very nice. So now when we click something inside of a game window, it's going to read the input that we created on the script over here. Okay, let's try this. I'm in the game window and I'm pressing space key, and I can see attack enemy again and again and again. We're going to clear it, select game window, press it again, attack enemy. So input works. Now, instead of debugging a message, let's make a bullet that will fly towards the enemy. And first of all, we want to create the bullet itself. I'm gonna go to the scene view, and we need to create a 3D sphere. I think it's okay if we make it smaller, maybe something like 0.1 on the scale. And also, I want to replace material. Let's take this white material. Why not? It's pretty visible on this background. Okay, so now this bullet has this pretty white material from our prototype materials. And we want this bullet to collide with other game objects. And also we're gonna move it by giving rigid body a velocity. There are multiple ways to make object move, and one of the easiest way to do that is to give object a component of a rigid body and then affect velocity of this rigid body. As of now, let's just make use gravity false, and that's it. And now we need to make a prefab out of this bullet. Prefab is basically like saving a blueprint of a game object, and it allows you to make a new instance of the same game object. Let's just take it here and drag it to the asset folder. Now we have a prefab of this sphere. We can change the name to bullet. And if I want to, I can make new bullets like that. So it's a same bullet, just a different one. It's a different instance of the same bullet. And we can create them not only by dragging them into the scene, but also we can do it in the script. Let's delete all of the bullets from here. And let's go to the tower, and we need to do something simple over here. When we're gonna create a bullet, it's gonna have collider on it, right? Over here it has a collider. And tower head and tower gun, they both have a collider as well. and when we create a bullet, it's going to be created inside of the tower's head. And because both of them are having colliders, it's going to push one object out of another, right? That's not what we want to do. Actually, let me show you that simply by putting bullet over here. I'm going to place it inside of the tower's head. And now if we go to play mode, you'll see that bullet will just basically bounce out of this object, right? Because it has collider and it pushes one collider out of another one. There are multiple ways to fix it. As of now, let's use the simplest one. Let's disable collider on a tower's head, and let's disable collider on a tower's gun, because we actually don't need to use colliders on these two objects right now. And now, if we go to play mode, bullet will stay inside of the tower's head, because there are no colliders pushing it outside. Okay. Very nice. So now we can safely create a bullet inside of the tower when we want to make it shoot bullets. Let's delete it from here, and let's go to the tower script. I'm gonna remove this start method because we're not using it right now, and I want to make a new variable of a type GameObject, and it's gonna be named as bullet prefab because we need a reference to the bullet's blueprint. Then over here, instead of debugging a message, I want to make a bullet. The way to do that is very simple. We're just gonna use Instantiate. And Instantiate allows you to create an object at runtime. We type Instantiate, then we tell in what we want to instantiate, and we want to make bullet prefab. Also, we need to set the position for this object when we create it, where it's going to be created. And we want it to be created inside of the tower's head. So we're going to use tower head.position. And then by default, we're supposed to set a rotation for this object. And because for this object, rotation is not important, we're going to type Quartonian.identity. This might be a little bit confusing. To make it simple, I just want to say that Quartonian is basically a rotation. So whenever you see word Quartonian, it means we're doing something with the rotation. By typing Quartonian.identity, we're essentially saying use default rotation or use zero rotation, because rotation for this bullet is not important. Okay, let's save it and let's go back to Unity. Now we need to assign prefab in this field, and we're going to take bullet and drag it over here. And now when I go to play mode, let's go to game window. I can press space key to create a bullet again and again. And we can see bullets are there slowly flying out of each other because they did collide with each other. But that's not important right now. Important thing is that we did create bullets with the press of a key, and we can see them over here. Now we want to make it fly towards the enemy. It's not that difficult, although if you're doing it for the first time, it might be a little bit confusing. This bullet over here has a rigid body, and we can give this rigid body a velocity that we want. And we want this bullet to fly towards the enemy, from a tower to the enemy. To do that, we want to get direction from tower to enemy. Then we're gonna use that vector of a direction, normalize it, and give it some speed, right? Let's go over here and let's type public float bullet speed, and let's make it as 3 by default. And then we're gonna go to this if statement over here, and we need to get rigid body that is on the newly created bullet. How do we do that? Because it's pretty difficult, right? We are inside of a tower script, bullet is over here, it has a rigid body, but we don't have any access to it. Well, we can make new bullet as a local variable. We just need to go here and do GameObject new bullet equals to instantiate bullet prefab tower's head position Quartonian identity. Basically, this one creates a local variable inside of an if statement, and local variable means this variable is available only inside of a curly brackets that it was created in. And because we made it equals to the newly created object, now it saves information about newly created object inside of this variable over here. And we can take this new bullet, and do dot get component of rigid body like that. Now, newly created bullet will be equals to the bullet we created in the game, and then we can get access to that bullet that we just created over here, and then we're gonna type dot get component from that bullet, and type of that component is rigid body. So essentially, once it will create a bullet, it will get access to the rigid body on the bullet over here every time we create a new bullet, every time we press a space key. And then we can give this rigid body a velocity. Let's just type dot velocity equals to, and because we want this bullet to fly from tower to enemy, we need to get that direction. And to get that direction, we just need to type enemy.position minus tower head.position. This will give us a direction. Now, before we make it fly fast with the bullet speed, I want to tell you about vectors and normalized vectors. Let's imagine we have a vector like that, y and x, just vector 2. And let's imagine we've got this direction. Now this value has somewhat over 6 on the y and somewhat over 5 on the x. So this is a pretty big value. Let's say another time we've got a direction like that. Now it has somewhat over 3 on the y and somewhat over 12 on the x. And the point is that this vector has different values every time. And if we multiply it with a bullet speed, let's say 3, then this one will be 18, this one 15. If we multiply it here, this one going to be 9, and this one is 36. And it's difficult to control velocity of the object when vector is like that, when it's uncertain. What we can do is to use dot normalize. When you normalize the vector, it will always get a value within the range of 1, like that. And then it will not be important what is the vector is, how long it is, because it will always get just the direction. The value will be normalized, and then we can get this normalized value and multiply it by speed. So we need it for better control of the bullet's velocity. Let's go here, wrap it into parentheses, and type dot normalized. And now we can multiply it by bullet speed. Okay, let's save this and let's go back to Unity. Where's the tower? Over here. Okay, so bullet speed is 3, so it should be fine. Let's go to the game window. Actually, I want to move enemy a bit closer. And maybe let's increase attack range to 5, so it looks at the enemy. Now I'm gonna press the space key, and we can see bullet is flying towards the enemy. Very cool, right? Very fun to play with. You can see a small issue there. Bullet is sort of just hitting the enemy and then falling down. And we want it to work a bit differently. We wanted to damage the enemy. And I think we're gonna do that in the next video. So I'll see you there.